Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. NXT Halloween Havoc. My God, folks. Last night's NXT Halloween Havoc was one of the greatest NXT shows of 2020. One of the best shows that NXT could ever produce. We got Johnny Gargano winning his second North American Championship. We got the return of Pete Dunne and shockingly turning heel. We got Santos Escobar picking up his victory over Jake Atlas, paying homage to Rey Mysterio. Now, Mr. Santos Escobar, now my question to you is, if you're a Lucha Libre artist, then why are you not paying homage to the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura? Oh, man. But I mean, no disrespect. Paying homage to Rey Mysterio is okay. It's okay. It's fine. And we got Dexter Lumis picking up a victory over Karen Grimes in what was his best match and what was one of his best winning matches of his career. And we got Rhea Ripley winning her biggest win of her career. And then we got Io Shirai retaining her NXT Women's Championship. And I got some NXT news and much more, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brendan Ingram. This is your Ingram Wrestling News live with your October the 28th, 2020 NXT review. So before we get started with that, be sure you hit that like, subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications, and follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at Ingram Wrestling. Also, I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I currently have 106 subscribers. So, be sure you subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps my live stream. It helps my videos. Most importantly, it helps me. Now, folks, we are going to go right ahead and get right to the review here. So, opening segment, folks. So, the opening segment is that we got a quick rundown of the 4 biggest matches for tonight's card. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. Karen Grimes versus Dexter Lumis. And the 2 spin the wheel, make a deal matches. So that right there was the opening segment. And then, what kicked off NXT, what kicked off tonight's NXT was Shotzi Blackheart dressed as some sort of bride of Frankenstein character. And she is carrying some sort of bone saw, making it shoot sparks as she howls from a chair at the top of the ramp. Suddenly the words "Live Forever" appear on the screen. And then we get our first match of last night's Halloween Havoc. Gargano for the North American Championship. So, this match, man, this match was fantastic, folks. I could not begin to tell you how good this fucking match was, man. So, here's what happened with this match between Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. So, Priest is already in the ring as an impressive guitarist plays a remix of Priest's theme. Vince dressed as Jack Skellington, and he cuts a hole in an inflammable pumpkin at the top of the ramp. He gets in Priest's face. Shotzi spins the wheel at the top of the ramp. The wheel lands on a Devil's Playground match. It is no disqualification, no counts, and a false count anywhere. Now, Priest whips Gargano to the corner, then hits an elevated flatliner, knocking Gargano silly. So, Gargano stumbles to the corner, and Priest hits his leaping forearm splash onto Gargano in the corner 3 times. Priest hits a spinning heel kick, then pins Gargano for 2. Priest hits a springboard forearm on Gargano, and Gargano rolls to the outside. Priest gives chase. Gargano gets in the ring, but transitions to the apron as Priest gets in the ring. Gargano goes for the slingshot spear, but Priest blocks it and goes for the reckoning. Gargano escapes and pulls Priest to the outside, then whips him into the steel steps. Gargano goes under the ring and grabs a kendo stick. Priest reveals a nightstick that he pulled from under the ring as they go to commercial break. We go back for commercial break. Gargano and Priest are fighting at the top of the ramp. Gargano hits a senton cannonball onto Priest, then grabs the kendo stick and lays into Priest. Priest rolls back in the ring and grabs his nightstick. Gargano goes for an enziguri, but Priest hits Gargano's shin with his nightstick. Priest hits Gargano with Slice of Heaven, pinning him for 2. Then Gargano rolls to the apron, and Priest gives chase. Priest dumps Gargano back into the ring. Gargano hits an enziguri, sending Priest to the outside. Priest goes for a suicide dive to the outside, but Priest catches him. Priest tries to choke slam Johnny Gargano in the face. He tries to choke slam Gargano on the fence at ringside, but Gargano reverses and sends Priest into the fence face first. Johnny Gargano hits sliced bread on Priest, landing Priest on the steel steps. Gargano covers Priest for 2. Gargano picks up Priest and goes for a tornado DDT on Gargano. But Priest blocks and hits a broken arrow on Gargano onto the announce table. Gargano and Priest fight along ringside. Gargano opens a casket at ringside, and a prop skeleton pops out and scares him. Gargano super kicks the skeleton back into the casket. Well, Priest uses the distraction to land a striking combination on Gargano. Gargano runs into the backstage area and blows a fire extinguisher in Priest's eyes, then smashes his head into a garage door. Gargano walks around looking for a new weapon. He grabs a trash can and dumps the trash can on Priest's head, then smashes the trash can over and over into the garage door. Gargano finds a sliding cart. He finds a sliding cart and pushes the cart into Priest, then ramming him into the garage door, and we go to another commercial break. So back for commercial break, Priest and Gargano are fighting on the side of the stage. Priest throws a trash can at Gargano, and Gargano lands near the wheel at the top of the stage. Priest stands above Gargano and picks him up. Priest goes for the reckoning on Gargano, but Gargano slips through and hits Priest with a super kick. Gargano grabs the trash can that Priest threw at him and hits Priest with it across the back several times. Gargano shouts at the wheel, then taunts Priest. Gargano goes for a super kick, but Priest hits a leaping roundhouse kick on Gargano. Gargano picks up the trash can, but Priest kicks the trash can into Priest's head, or into Gargano's head. Priest picks up Gargano and goes for the reckoning, but a man in a scream mask appears and hits Priest with a steel pipe. Gargano hits a tornado DDT on Priest, then stares at the man in the scream mask. The man walks away and Gargano smiles. The man in the scream mask reappears and hands a props tombstone to Gargano, and Gargano hits Priest with it, sending Priest flying through part of the scenery and off the stage. Gargano crawls down to the floor and pins Priest for 3, winning the match. And after the match, Johnny Gargano stands at the top of the ramp and celebrates, holding the North American champion. Now, my reaction and my thoughts on this match, folks. This was a great, awesome Devil's Playground match between Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. Johnny Gargano is now a 2-time North American championship. He's now a 2-time North American champion. Pretty sure the ghost face that helped Johnny Gargano win was Indy Hartwell. Only question is, why is she helping the Garganos? But there is news. There is news on who the intended identity of the person under the scary mask was. There's news on that. I got news on that. But first, let's go over the news on Triple H putting over Shotzi Blackheart's potential in WWE NXT. So I got news on that. And man, oh man, Shotzi Blackheart, man, I tell you, man, that was one hell of a character she played in on this show last night, man. So, last night, NXT put on one hell of an event with a long-awaited return of Halloween Havoc being well received by the WWE Universe, of course. So, folks, we saw some fun surprises to go alongside some great matches, and the whole thing was hosted by rising star Shotzi Blackheart. One man who believed that Shotzi Blackheart has a bright future in NXT is the man who helped to put last night together, Triple H. It was Triple H, folks. So this is what Triple H said on Twitter yesterday. He said, and I quote, "The incredible action of Halloween Havoc was aided by a breakout performance by our host, Shotzi Blackheart. A bright star with even bigger potential. The women's division is as competitive as it has been in a long time, and from out of nowhere, Blackheart is starting to emerge as a real dark horse." Yes, that is absolutely true, man. You gotta give credit to Triple H and Shotzi Blackheart for putting together this show, man. Mainly credit to Triple H, man. I'm glad he's not like Vince and Bruce. Triple H knows more of a thing or two about creative, something Vince and Bruce needs to work on. Yeah, I'm talking about you two. You fucking geeks. So now, I got news on the identity of the person under the Scream Mask at NXT Takeover, or not Takeover, but NXT Halloween Havoc review. So, the person under the Scream Mask at NXT Halloween Havoc. So, it reads here that WWE held a Halloween Havoc for the NXT brand. Of course, we all know that. It was an action-packed show. Of course, we know that too. But one review needed to be cut. Indy Hartwell was supposed to be on the show, but she was forced to quarantine. Her role was filled by someone else, but it was supposed to be her. And it might end up still being her when everything is said and done. So, during a Wrestling Observer News Radio, Dave Meltzer revealed that Indy Hartwell was supposed to be the person under the Scream Mask. She couldn't be there because she was quarantined. They still didn't reveal the identity of the masked individual. So it might end up being Hartwell when she can return to television. This is what Dave Meltzer said. He said, and I quote, "As far as I know, the only talent that was booked for the show who wasn't there was Indy Hartwell, who was gonna do a run-in. In fact, it's going to come out in theory. The person in the Scream Mask that helped Candice LeRae was supposed to be Indy Hartwell and may end up being called Indy Hartwell because she never unmasked, and the idea was for her to unmask as Indy Hartwell, but she wasn't there. It was somebody else under the mask. So it was previously reported that at least one person who was supposed to be on Halloween Havoc couldn't make the show. It turns out that that was in fact Indy Hartwell. So here at Ringside News, they said they still have no idea who played her role under that mask, but it was a stand-in this week. Now, folks, don't be surprised if that masked person shows up again. Indy Hartwell was reviewed. So, thanks to Ringside News for this information. I appreciate them. Ringside is real. Their news is not fake at all. I gotta say that to those of you fucking geeks who are always trying to put my sources, my good old friends on Twitter, Ringside News, on blast on Twitter. You fucking goddamn morons. So anyways, moving on, folks, to the next. So, at commentary, Wayne Barrett announces that he is dressed as Bad News Barrett. And he tosses to a backstage video fed as Pat McAfee and the Brit AIM Brawlers make their way to the ring. We get a replay of the ending of last week's main event, and we will hear, it says, we would hear from Pat McAfee, Danny Burch, and Arnie Larkin right after a commercial break. So back from a commercial break, Cameron Grimes is backstage. Oh, God. And William Regal appears and tells him that a car is waiting for him in the parking lot. Regal escorts him to the parking lot. And then we got Pat McAfee, Danny Burch, Arnie Larkin in the ring. McAfee talks about how Halloween Havoc is the second best night in NXT history. And the biggest night was TakeOver 30, as that was when he had his debut match. He runs down the crowd and talks about how Adam Cole disrespected him after beating him. He says he couldn't stop thinking about how big of a boom Adam Cole was. He was too busy coming back to NXT, so he hired Rich Holland to take out Adam Cole, which we all knew that all along. And the Undisputed Era. So he was hired by Rich Holland to take out Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era. When Rich Holland was injured, he hired the guys who injured Holland, Arnie Larkin and Danny Burch. Burch calls for a mic, but before he can say anything, Undisputed Era's music hits. And Kyle O'Reilly comes out. McAfee, Burch, and Larkin are taunting O'Reilly to get in the ring. O'Reilly gets on the apron, but before he gets in the ring, Pete Dunne's mic hits, and Dunne walks out with 2 chairs. Dunne walks down to the ring and stands on the apron. He offers O'Reilly a chair, and O'Reilly and Dunne get in the ring. Burch, Larkin, and McAfee retreat to the apron. O'Reilly drops his chair, and Dunne slams into O'Reilly's back with the chair. Dunne, Burch, Larkin beat on O'Reilly and pick him apart. They stomp away at him, kicking him and beating him. Dunne stomps on O'Reilly's hand onto the steel steps, and Burch and Larkin hit O'Reilly with a elevated DDT onto a steel chair. McAfee gets on the mic and says that he, Burch, Larkin, and Dunne are the new kings of NXT, and they stand tall above him. So, in this angle, Pete Dunne turned heel. So that was Pete Dunne's heel turn, I think, is going to elevate him, and it's going to get him to the top. And I hope all of you agree with me when I say that. Anyways, moving on. Backstage, Cameron Grimes begs William Regal to come with him, but Regal insists that Grimes leave on his own. A creepy van pulls up to escort Cameron Grimes. So Cameron Grimes gets in before the van drives off. Back from commercial, Jake Atlas is already in the ring, ready for his match. So we got the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Santos Escobar, versus Jake Atlas. So I'm getting ready to tell you what happened with this match between the two in a few minutes. Keep in mind that this was a non-title match. This is a non-title match, folks. Alright. So here's what went down with this match. So Escobar starts the match with a huge kick to Atlas's face. Escobar lands into Atlas with a series of chops in the corner. He whips Atlas into the opposite corner and hits him with a knee to the midsection. Escobar hits a running double knee strike to Atlas' chest in the corner. Escobar kicks Atlas' arms, picking him apart. Escobar slams Atlas in the face, and he taunts Atlas. Atlas comes back with a slap to Escobar's face. Then he strikes away at Escobar in the ring. In the corner, in the corner. Atlas catches Escobar with a back elbow and back body drop. Atlas hits Escobar with a scoop slam and an uppercut into a German suplex. Atlas hits a discus forearm on Escobar, covering him for 2. Atlas goes to the top rope and hits the Rainbow DDT, pinning Escobar. But Joaquin Wilde puts Escobar's foot on the rope, breaking up the pin. Atlas hits a suicide dive onto Legado del Fantasma. On the outside, Escobar grabs Atlas's hair, but Atlas fights back. Escobar retreats into the ring, but Raul Mendoza puts on a lucha mask and headbutts Atlas, then rolls him back in the ring. Escobar picks up Atlas and hits him with a Phantom Driver, covering him for the victory. So, not too bad of a match between Jake Atlas and Santos Escobar. I mean, I'm not a fan of both of these guys, but the Cruiserweight matches just keep getting shorter on NXT, folks. I mean, I understand they are saving the longer matches for 205 Live, but you can have them on NXT as well. Speaking of 205 Live, besides, honestly, I don't watch 205 Live, and neither do I care about 205 Live. Most importantly, I'm not interested in knowing about the 205 Live division. This division is short. Why was this show even brought up to begin with? I don't know. But they need to take it off the WWE Network because nobody wants to watch this show. Alright? It's fucking terrible. Nobody wants to watch it. No one is interested in watching 205 Live. I don't even know why these shows are still predicting. They need to stop producing these shows. It's already enough that you don't have much audience watching it because of how boring it is, you know? They just need to stop it. But anyways, this wasn't a bad match between the two. Escobar was victorious, paying homage to Rey Mysterio. So that's pretty good. This was a pretty good win for Escobar. I don't think this was the biggest win of his career. I think this was the biggest match of his career. Given how good Jake Atlas is. That's why I say that. So, anyways, we get a video package from Ember Moon. Former NXT champion Ember Moon talking about she now has Dakota Kai in her sights following Kai's attack on Moon. Shotzi Blackheart, man oh man, her character looks so good at the beginning of the show. Just thought I'd say that. Anyways, Shotzi Blackheart tells us that the Haunted House of Terror match is next after a commercial break. So, back from commercial break, they go into the Haunted House of Terror match. So we got Dexter Lumis. My God, he's a really good NXT superstar. So we got Dexter Lumis versus Karen Grimes. Karen Grimes, not so much of a good superstar. I mean, let's be honest, his fucking accent's fucking terrible. I mean, enough said. Anyways, here's what happened with Dexter Lumis versus Karen Grimes, folks. The creepy van pulled up, and Karen Grimes escaped. So, he calls out to Loomis, asking Loomis where he is and saying what he'll do when he finds Loomis. Loomis is seen hiding in a tree, watching Grimes, but Grimes doesn't see him. In fact, Grimes enters the house and is spooked by everything inside, like a stuffed deer's head and a tricycle. Loomis is seen entering after Grimes, still watching him. Grimes enters a new room and sees a creepy looking referee standing in a corner. Loomis bursts into the room and pins Grimes against the wall. Grimes pushes Loomis into a mirror, shattering the mirror. Grimes runs to a new room and locks the door. Loomis kicks down the door and Grimes runs into the bathroom. He sees a shadow of a woman in the shower. Grimes takes off his coat and hat, but the woman in the shower appears to be some sort of ghostly creature who scares Grimes. Grimes runs out of the bathroom and runs around saying he wants out. Lumis enters through a window and begins to choke Grimes. Grimes claws at Lumis' eyes and escapes, but Grimes runs into more ghostly creatures. So yeah, he was running like ghostly creatures as if he was a 4-month-old crying baby. I just thought that was funny. Anyways, Loomis chases Grimes into a kitchen, where Grimes grabs a weapon before being attacked by more ghostly women. One of them jumps on his back, and Grimes runs out with the woman still on his back. He tosses her off his back and sees the other ghostly figures chasing him. Grimes runs into the van to try and escape the creatures, but Dexter Lumis is the driver of the van. Grimes runs out of the van and runs away into the distance. We see a message that says to be continued, and we go back to the arena. Rhea, excuse me. I wish it was Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez are seen backstage, walking towards the ring. Rhea Ripley, her music hits, and she walks out. Then we go to commercial break. So we cut back from commercial break, and Raquel Gonzalez makes her way to the ring. So we get Rhea Ripley, former NXT Women's Champion, former NXT UK Women's Champion, versus Raquel Gonzalez. So, folks, here's what went down with this hard-hitting power strength match. That's what I want to call it. Gonzalez tosses Ripley into the corner, but Ripley fights back with strikes to the midsection. Ripley and Gonzalez wrap up, but Gonzalez pushes Ripley into the corner. Gonzalez hits Ripley in the midsection with her shoulder. Ripley starts fighting back and hits Gonzalez with a headbutt. Gonzalez is unfazed and tries to take down Ripley, but Ripley is also unfazed. They shove back and forth, then trade slaps to the face. They club away at each other, but Gonzalez takes Ripley down by pulling her hair and throwing her to the mat. Gonzalez tries to suplex Ripley, but Ripley lands on her feet. They go for clotheslines on each other, then get each other in fireman's carries. They both escape the holds and run the ropes, but Ripley eventually gets the upper hand, drop kicking Gonzalez to the outside. Ripley gives chase, but Gonzalez catches Ripley and powerbombs her into the fencing surrounding the ring. Gonzalez tosses Ripley back into the ring, and we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, and Gonzalez has Ripley in a submission hold in the ring. Ripley powers out of it and rolls up Gonzalez for 2. Gonzalez picks up Ripley and whips her into the corner, but Ripley hits Gonzalez with back elbows. Gonzalez takes Ripley down with another clothesline and pins Ripley for 2 again. Gonzalez picks up Ripley up. She picks Ripley up, but Ripley hits Gonzalez with a back body drop. Ripley she chops at Gonzalez and hits her with knees to the face, then they let leg sweep. So after she hits her with knees to the face, then a leg sweep. Ripley hits a basement drop kick on Gonzalez, pinning her for 2. Ripley gets to her feet and goes after Gonzalez's back. Ripley stomps at Gonzalez, then locks Gonzalez in an inverted cloverleaf. Ripley transitions into a pin for 2. Gonzalez kicks Ripley, then hits a power slam for 2. Gonzalez gets Ripley in the corner and sits her on the top rope. Gonzalez follows and goes for a superplex. Ripley blocks and hits Gonzalez with a headbutt. Ripley tries to get Gonzalez into a riptide from the top rope, but Gonzalez fights out. Ripley stands on the top rope, but Gonzalez runs up and hits a super kick, pinning Rhea Ripley for 2. Gonzalez goes for her one-arm powerbomb, but Ripley escapes. Ripley hits Gonzalez with a kick to the head, stunning her. Ripley hits Gonzalez with a riptide, pinning her for 3. Man, oh man, oh man. This was a very, 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 very good match between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. This was all about power and strength, in my full opinion. Both Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez are great. They're both that great. They're both that damn good. But in the end, Ripley was the better. So, therefore, hands down, thumbs up to both of them. So, after Rhea Ripley's victory, which I think this was Rhea Ripley's biggest win of her career. Definitely. Being looking forward to seeing news on Rhea Ripley possibly soon being called up to the main roster, because you know that news is going to come up sooner or later. So anyways, we cut to footage of Cameron Grimes running down the street, shouting, "Help me!" Vince Joseph asks, is Cameron Grimes coming back to the Capitol Wrestling Center? Before that question can be fully answered, they go to commercial break again. Back for commercial break again. Oh God, Drake Maverick is dressed as Hulk Hogan and is being interviewed about his tag team aspirations. Killian Dane comes out dressed as Shockmaster. Maverick is upset that Dane didn't trip during his entrance, so he puts on the Shockmaster mask and trips on his own. The fuck is this? What's this? Patrick and SpongeBob? Jesus Christ, man. Moving on. Cameron Grimes is outside of the Capitol Wrestling Center, and he enters back through the door that he exited through. Grimes is then seen stumbling around through the scenery on the side of the stage. So two of the women from the haunted house have followed Grimes back to the arena and chase him into the ring. Master Loomis enters and appears behind Grimes. Loomis tosses Grimes across the ring, then hits a bulldog on Grimes. Grimes gets a boot up in Loomis' face, but Loomis hits Grimes with a spinebuster. Loomis stalks Grimes in the ring as the zombie woman surrounds Grimes. Grimes hits a zombie with a cave-in. A zombie woman climbs onto Loomis' shoulders, and he tosses her into Loomis. Hitting a crossbody, Loomis hits Grimes with a Uranagi and locks in the silence. Grimes passes out. Loomis' music plays. The zombie woman enters the ring and surrounds Grimes as Loomis exits. Once he exits, Loomis walks away as the zombies right around and surround Grimes. The lights go out and the camera closes in on Loomis' face. The words "end," the end, appear on the screen. Wow, man. Talk about bizarre. That was one of the most bizarre things I have ever witnessed, folks. I couldn't even call that a match. The one thing we found out is that Dexter Lumis was secretly NXT's version of Michael Morris. Makes him just as creepy as he already was. And I fucking love it, folks. Dexter Lumis is fucking great, man. Dexter Lumis is doing the best work of his career with his character in WWE and on the NXT brand. Meanwhile, Karen Grimes, not so much. Dexter Lumis, no doubt, will finally be a future NXT North American champion and NXT champion sooner rather than later. And this was also, not only did Rhea Ripley have the biggest win of her career, but also Dexter Lumis. Also, this match against Cameron Grimes was the biggest win of his career. So this was a great match, but I wouldn't really call it a match, even though it was a good match. So anyways, moving on, folks. We got a video package for the upcoming match between Shirai and Candice LeRae. Shotzi Blackheart is now dressed as the devil, saying that she will be spinning the wheel for the main event after a commercial break. Back from commercial break, Tommaso Ciampa is cutting a promo backstage saying that he doesn't recognize NXT anymore. He says that the attitude and the culture has changed, and everyone acts like they are owned something. He says that everyone blames someone else. He says that he has heard all of the excuses before, and he was never handed anything. He worked for it all. He says that he was NXT for a long time, but fate took it away. He says that he wants to take it back. He says that Velveteen Dream is in his way, and you hit me with a cast one. Shame on you. You hit me with a cast twice. You're a dead man. Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream and Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon are announced for next week's episode of NXT. So apparently NXT is continuing the Ember Moon and Dakota Kai feud. That's why we are seeing this match again. That explains why we're seeing it twice. So both of those matches are announced for next week's NXT. So now, let's get right to the main event, which I thought was one of the best matches on this show, in my opinion. So, we got NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae for the NXT Women's Championship. This was a spin a wheel, make a deal match for that title. So, Poppy has sung sung Io down to the ring before. Does it again tonight. Last night. This was last night, though. So Io and Candice LeRae stare each other down in the ring, and Shotzi spins the wheel. It lands on a table, ladders, and chairs match. So, here's what happened with this match between the two. Io hits Candice, and Candice rolls to the outside. Io hits a suicide dive onto Candice on the outside. While they brawl, the official hooks the NXT Women's Championship onto a rope and pulls it up. The winner must climb the ladder and grab the title. Candice opens the bag, and it is full of dismembered dummies. Io attacks Candice with the dummies' arms. I thought it was going to say mummy for a moment. Anyways, Candice drops Io face first onto a ladder on the outside, and then pulls another ladder out and slams it down onto Io. Back to her feet, Io tosses Candice over the announce table. Io picks up Candice and gets ready to hit her, of course, with a superplex, sending her to the table. Candice blocks and picks up a laptop, slamming Io into and sending Io flying off the announce table. So yeah, again, she picked up the laptop, and slamming into Io and sending Io flying off the announce table. Did you all get that? Okay. Candice sets up a ladder across the ring and the announce table, but Io tosses a chair into Candice's face. Io sits Candice against the steel steps, then hits Candice with a Meteora into the steel steps. Io goes under the ring and pulls out 3 chairs. Io tosses 2 into the ring and hits Candice in the midsection with the 3rd. Io tosses the 3rd into the ring and then pulls out 2 more chairs and tosses them into the ring. Io hits Candice with a suplex on the outside, and we go to commercial break. Back from commercial, and 2 tables have been set up on the outside, side by side. Both Io and Candice are down. Io crawls to the side of the ring where the ladders are, and Io tosses a ladder into the ring. Candice tosses the other ladder into the ring. Candice plants Io on the mat and sets up a ladder in the corner. Candice tosses Io to the mat and climbs the ladder. But Io pulls her down and hits her with a palm strike. Io moves the ladder and tosses the pile of steel. She tosses the pile of steel chairs back towards the center of the ring. Io goes for a double underhook powerbomb onto Candice, but Candice blocks. Io transitions into a pendulum backbreaker. Io goes for a moonsault onto Candice, but Candice rolls out of the way and Io lands on the chair. Candice hits Io with a chair, then sets up the chair. Candice goes for a superplex. Superplex and suplex is the same thing anyway, so guess it doesn't matter. But Candice goes for a suplex onto the steel chair. I thought I was going to say superplex again. That's why I stopped and said soup. And then I said plex. Meaning I said suplex. But anyways, Io reverses and hits Candice with a suplex onto the chair. Io climbs the ladder, but Candice grabs her leg and pulls her off. Io strikes Candice, and Candice sits in the corner against the ladder. Io goes for a Meteora. Yeah, she goes for a Meteora. But Candice dodges, and Io goes shin first into the ladder in the corner. Candice goes to the top rope. But Io catches her with a palm strike. So she catched her with palm strikes again, and Candice is out cold, laying across the top rope. Io moves the ladder to the side. It sets up 2 chairs in the ring. Io goes to the top rope, but Candice pushes Io back into the ring. Candice lands on the apron, and Io is in the ring. Candice tries to kick Io, but Io catches Candice's foot in the chair, then twists it, twisting Candice's ankle. Io goes for a tiger feint kick, but Candice dodges and hits Io with a steel chair to the back on the apron. Candice hits a swinging net breaker onto Io, sending both women crashing through the tables. On the outside, the wrestler in the scream mask comes out and picks up Candice, then helps her climb up the ladder, placing her at the top of the ladder. Shotzi Blackheart runs in and takes out the scream masked superstar, nuffling whoever is under the mask. Candice comes to at the top of the ladder just as Io gets back in the ring and sets up a ladder next to Candice's ladder. Io climbs next to Candice, but Candice tosses Io to the mat. Io tips over the ladder that Candice was on, sending her crashing through the ladder. On the outside, Io climbs the remaining ladder and grabs the title. Io wins the match. She retains her NXT Women's Championship. Io celebrates at the top of the ladder, and Johnny Gargano comes down to help his wife as NXT goes off air. Awesome main event. Spin the wheel, make a deal. NXT Women's Championship match between Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. Both are, in fact, my favorite NXT female superstars. They are both so good at what they do in the ring. They put on one hell of a performance in the ring. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae have so much chemistry together in the ring. This NXT Women's Championship match between the two last night showed just that, folks. It did. And that is going to end your October the 28th, 2020 NXT review. Now, I got a few announcements to make. And I got a tiny bit more news. First of all, let's start with the announcements. So, I'm going to be live with my WWE SmackDown live stream, live reactions, live stream tomorrow. You know, I'm going to be live giving you my reactions to SmackDown while I'm watching it. And then my SmackDown review is going to be live after that. And today, I am officially going to be doing a Ingram Wrestling News video. And let me tell you what that's going to be news on. It's going to be news on Thunder Rosa's current contract situation. So I'm going to be doing an Ingram Wrestling News on that. And I'm also going to be doing an Ingram Wrestling News video on what to expect on Friday Night SmackDown. So I'm also going to be doing news on that. When I'm going to be doing news on that, I don't know. It's either going to be today or tomorrow. Then I'm going to be doing an Ingram Wrestling News video on that. Now, I'm also going to be recording another Ingram Wrestling News video. There was this other news that I wanted to deliver to you all that I didn't get to deliver. So, folks, I got some news. Got some NXT news on who tested positive for COVID-19, causing recent WWE NXT quarantine. So, And you can thank my sources, Ringside News, for this information as well. So, it reads here. It reads here at Ringside News that WWE experienced another situation caused by COVID-19. They had to order mass quarantines for anyone who was at their performance center on October the 16th. Now, there is more information about this situation. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that it is believed a performance center coach had COVID-19 and is possibly spread it. This is why anyone who was at the performance center on October 16 was asked to quarantine for 2 weeks. So this is what Dave Meltzer said. He said, and I quote, "I basically guessed is that one of the coaches was diagnosed with COVID. So everyone that had trained in the gym on Friday was told to quarantine for 2 weeks, whether they were there or not. Most of the TV people were not there. I was told that none of the TV people tested positive." Here at Ringside News, it said it was noted that Indy Hartwell was the only person known to have been scheduled for Halloween Havoc, but she couldn't make it. So, hopefully, WWE can avoid having any more COVID-19 related issues. But as the number of positive cases continue to rise in America, it's going to get even more difficult. So, that's all the NXT news I have. Again, this is the end of year October 28, 2020 NXT review. Folks, I hope you have a good day. I hope if you enjoyed my review, hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit that thumbs down. Like I said it in the beginning, I said it in the open, I'm going to say it again. It helps the channel, it helps the live stream, it helps me out. Most importantly, it helps my videos out. So, thank you for watching, folks. I will be live with your WWE SmackDown live stream, live reactions, and then my review will be after that, my SmackDown review. Thank you for watching, folks. See you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Oh, and by the way, have on your notifications because my Ingram Wrestling News video that I'm going to be recording, that I'm going to be uploading to YouTube, will be next. Right here on my Ingram Wrestling News YouTube channel. Have a good day, folks. Catch you tomorrow on my Friday